Coming up on Arirang News. President Yoon holds a series of bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the NATO Summit in Washington, D.C., addressing security concerns over North Korea and Russia's military cooperation. NATO leaders also came up with a joint declaration strongly condemning China and North Korea for supplying Russia's war against Ukraine. South Korea's central bank extended its rate freeze, keeping the key rate unchanged at 3.5%. This came amid high household debt and uncertainties over inflation. Samsung Electronics unveiled its latest foldable smartphone series with AI features in Paris on Wednesday, aiming to sell 10% more of the new models compared to their predecessors. Welcome to the 9 p.m. edition of Arirang News. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. We start in Washington, D.C., where President Yoon held back-to-back meetings with NATO members and Japan, highlighting the threat of deepening military ties between North Korea and Russia. Our senior correspondent, Oh Soo-young, starts us off.
Building solidarity, President Yoon gained the backing of various NATO partners on countering Russia and North Korea's military cooperation and its threat to global security. This came as the South Korean leader engaged in a series of bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the NATO Summit held in Washington, D.C., representing Seoul as an invited partner country for the third consecutive year. According to his Deputy National Security Advisor Kim Tae-ho, the president met with leaders from 7 countries, including Canada, the Netherlands, Sweden, the Czech Republic, Finland and Japan, emphasizing the growing connection between Indo-Pacific and North Atlantic security interests. In light of Russia and North Korea last month forging a pact to aid each other militarily in the face of aggression.
The leaders agreed that the illegal military cooperation between Russia and North Korea poses a serious threat to security beyond the Korean Peninsula, to the Indo-Pacific and Europe. They resolved to strengthen solidarity among nations that share core values and uphold the rules-based international order, and to firmly respond to Russia-North Korea military cooperation.
The South Korean leader and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida notably met for the second time this year, and the 11th time since Yoon's inauguration, as the two neighbors agreed to work closely with like-minded countries. Yoon noted that the recent developments between Russia and North Korea highlight the importance of the Camp David trilateral cooperation between South Korea, the US and Japan, which have been ramping up their joint military exercises and intelligence sharing to counter North Korea's continued provocations. The leader of the Netherlands also agreed to work closely with South Korea on denuclearizing North Korea and countering Pyongyang's cooperation with Moscow, while German Chancellor Olaf Scholz expressed his country's intention to join the United Nations Command, which has had a presence on the Korean Peninsula since the 1950-53 Korean War. Yoon welcomed the move, deeming it a demonstration of Berlin's commitment to upholding a rules-based international order and contributing to peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. Also, Yoon met the Canadian Prime Minister and discussed their evolving security partnership through their 2+2 foreign and defence high-level dialogue, indicating a strong level of cooperation between two like-minded countries for global and regional security in the Indo-Pacific. So, along with other Indo-Pacific partners of NATO, Japan, Australia and New Zealand will convene separately on Thursday morning and issue their own statement criticising Moscow and Pyongyang, according to Yoon's office. Continuing his marathon of one-on-one meetings in D.C., President Yoon also plans to sit down with NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg, along with the new UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the leaders of Norway, Luxembourg and Poland.
However, in countering the Russia-North Korea axis, all eyes are on whether a meeting with US President Joe Biden will take place on Thursday before the South Korean leader heads to Seoul. Yoon's office says both allied countries are aware of the need for even a brief meeting between their leaders in a formal standalone setting, and that currently they are trying to make the meeting happen. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
And aside from security concerns, the president sought to strengthen Korea's economic partnerships with its global counterparts. Our top office correspondent Kim Do-yeon tells us more.
President Yoon Suk-yeol is utilizing the NATO Summit in Washington, D.C. to enhance economic cooperation with member nations. This as he met with the leaders of 6 NATO member countries on the sidelines during his first day of the multilateral summit on Wednesday. They were Germany, Canada, Netherlands, Sweden, Czech Republic, and Finland. In regard to discussions over nuclear power plants, the top office says President Yoon appealed to 4 leaders from the Czech Republic, Netherlands, Finland, and Sweden that South Korea's nuclear energy technology is among the best in the world. South Korea and France are currently competing to be the preferred supplier for a project with up to 4 new units in the Czech Republic, with a final decision imminent.
President Yoon emphasized to President Pavel that South Korea possesses the world's best construction capabilities and overwhelming price competitiveness. He stressed that if South Korea is selected as the contractor, it would significantly contribute to the development of the nuclear power sector in the Czech Republic.
Critical minerals were also part of discussions as Sweden has Europe's largest deposit of rare earth minerals. South Korea and Sweden, as members of the Minerals Security Partnership, agreed to cooperate for the critical mineral supply chain. In the meantime, it was President Yoon's first time meeting with the new Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof, who took office earlier this month. South Korea and the Netherlands recently formed a CHIPS alliance to get the best out of South Korea's chip manufacturing capacity and the Netherlands' lithography technology. And the new Dutch Prime Minister says the change in government doesn't change that level of cooperation.
Prime Minister Schoof emphasized that South Korea plays a very important role in the semiconductor supply chain and suggested continuing the semiconductor cooperation between the two countries.
The top office says that the opportunity was used to, quote, reinforce the stepping stones for the nation's companies, and it's not done. While the main NATO summit and the IP4 summit are set to happen on Thursday, on the last day of President Yoon's trip, the top office also says that President Yoon will squeeze in more bilateral meetings in between main events to maximize face-to-face opportunities. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
As expected, this year's NATO summit served to renew its support for Ukraine and demonstrate its solidarity against North Korea, Russia, and China. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji reports on what this could mean for regional security.
The leaders of 32 NATO member states have issued a joint declaration, which strongly condemns North Korea's arms cooperation with Russia, as well as China's efforts to support Moscow with military supplies. Calling China the decisive enabler in the war, they urged the country to cease all material and political support to Russia's war efforts, adding that it has become a large-scale supporter of Moscow's defense industrial base. This is the first time that the Western military alliance has publicly denounced China's military support for Russia.
Not only are Iran and North Korea important when it comes to enabling Russia's war aggression against Ukraine, but China is the main enabler because, as you refer to, they are delivering the tools, the dual-use equipment, the microelectronics, everything Russia needs to build the missiles, the bombs, the aircraft, and all the other systems they use against Ukraine.
Beijing dismissed the criticism, saying that parts of the joint statement related to China are full of lies and smears, and warned the alliance to stay out of Asia. The South Korean government said it welcomes the joint declaration that includes strong condemnation of Pyongyang's export of artillery shells and ballistic missiles to Moscow, highlighting once again that the regime's move is a violation of UN Security Council resolutions.
We believe that the 32 NATO member states voicing their opposition to illegal arms trade and the strengthening of military and economic cooperation between Russia and North Korea sends a strong message to both countries, based on the fact that the security of Europe and Asia are interconnected.
One expert on North Korea says NATO's moves are aimed at isolating China, North Korea, and Russia.
I think this will further solidify tensions between the US, South Korea, and Japan against North Korea, China, and Russia regarding the situation on the Korean Peninsula and other regional issues in Northeast Asia.
Wednesday's joint declaration comes as European leaders are set to sit down with the leaders of 4 Asia-Pacific nations, South Korea, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, for talks in Washington on Thursday local time. 배은지, Arirang News.
Underlining the importance of maintaining a robust defense industry to keep NATO's deterrence strong, 32 NATO member states have agreed to boost defense industry capacity and production. The newly adopted NATO Industrial Capacity Expansion pledge includes the acceleration of multinational procurement, enhancing the implementation of standards to increase interoperability, and securing critical supply chains. It also added the need to pursue defense cooperation with its partner countries, specifically mentioning Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. The new pledge builds on the Defense Production Action Plan agreed at the Vilnius Summit in July 2023. The Bank of Korea has decided to hold its key interest rate steady at 3.5% once again. But its governor today hinted at a potential policy shift. Our finance correspondent Lee Soo-jin reports.
South Korea's central bank has yet again left its benchmark interest rate unchanged at 3.5%. The decision was announced on Thursday following the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting for the second half of the year.
We have decided to maintain a tightened monetary policy as there is still a need to monitor inflation, as well as the impact of rising household debt and the volatile foreign exchange market.
This is the 12th consecutive time that the BOK has decided to freeze the rate. The base rate was last raised in January 2023 to the current 3.5% and has been left steady since then. The rate freeze decision this month comes despite inflation showing signs of easing. South Korea's Consumer Price Index, a key gauge of inflation, rose by 2.4% in June compared to the same month the year before. The rise in consumer prices hovered above 3% at the start of the year before dropping below the 3% mark in April and remaining in the 2% range for 3 consecutive months. And the June figure was the lowest seen in 11 months, inching closer to the target inflation figure of 2%. But ongoing concerns about household debt and the largest ever interest rate gap are deterring the BOK from rate hikes. In June, household loans from 5 major commercial banks in Korea, KB Kookmin, Shinhan, Hana, Uri, and NH Nonghyuk, surged by more than $3.8 billion, the largest on-month rise since July 2021. According to one expert, lowering the interest rate would have exacerbated the current situation.
Chances are people will take out more debt to take an opportunity to buy housing. So it will not only increase household debt, but also probably drive up housing prices, especially in the Seoul metropolitan area.
And the U.S. Central Bank in its most recent June meeting decided unanimously to keep key interest rates at the 5.25 to 5.5% range, marking the 7th consecutive meeting where the Fed has kept its interest rates at the same level. This has left the rate gap between the two countries at its highest ever at 2 percentage points, raising concerns that the South Korean won could continue to weaken against the greenback. And these concerns about household debt and a weakening Korean won are what may delay the BOK's rate cuts, a possibility that was mentioned in an official setting for the first time in nearly 3 years during today's press conference by the governor. Moving forward, the BOK plans to not just monitor inflation, but to also consider the nation's economic growth and financial stability when deciding when to cut interest rates. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
A rise in trade and private consumption is expected to drive South Korea's economic growth in the second half of the year. That's according to the latest edition of OECD economic surveys issued on Thursday, which predicted that economic growth this year would reach 2.6% on the back of recovering semiconductor exports. Adjusting its May forecast for inflation down by 0.1 percentage point to 2.5%, it sees consumption picking back up as a result. Some key policy recommendations given were to level the playing field to boost SME productivity, achieve the 2030 climate target by adjusting emission allowances, and respond actively to population decline. South Korean tech giant Samsung Electronics unveiled its AI foldable smartphone series during its Unpacked event held in Paris on Wednesday. Our business correspondent Park Gun-woo tells us more.
Samsung Electronics unpacked its slimmest and lightest foldable smartphone series, the Galaxy Z Flip 6 and Fold 6, in Paris on Wednesday, with added AI features.
And because life-enhancing innovations should be open to all, we've been putting Galaxy AI into the hands of more people around the world. Galaxy AI will be available on 200 million Galaxy devices this year.
AI functions are now available on Samsung's foldable series for the first time and are even stronger than those on the Galaxy 24 series, the company's first AI smartphone, released at the beginning of this year. Samsung's foldable phones now provide real-time AI translation for 16 different languages during phone calls on third-party messaging apps including KakaoTalk and WhatsApp, and during everyday conversations. By utilizing the dual screens of the new foldable series, the latest on-device AI allows people speaking in different languages to communicate in real time. Let me try translating Korean into English. 아리랑 뉴스 시청자 여러분 안녕하십니까? The AI technology can even create more sophisticated artwork from simple sketches done on your phone.
I really like it because there are so many useful AI functions such as photo editing.
The previous editions were heavy, but the new ones are way lighter, so I like it.
With stronger durability and a design that reduces creases on the screen when folded, pricing for the Galaxy Z Flip 6 starts at $1,099. The base model Fold 6 will cost $1,899. Also on Wednesday, the Seoul-based tech giant unveiled its Galaxy Ring. The lightweight Galaxy Ring, weighing around 3 grams, allows people to measure and record sleeping patterns, heart rate, and respiration rate. It can be worn daily for a full week on a single charge. The price starts from $399. Other products, including the latest series of the Galaxy Watch and Galaxy Buds, were also revealed at the event. The official release date for all of the products is July 24th. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
The South Korean government has appealed against a ruling by an international arbitration tribunal that ordered it to pay $32 million to U.S.-based hedge fund Mason Capital back in April. Seoul's Justice Ministry said this was based on an expert legal opinion that the Permanent Court of Arbitration wrongly interpreted the jurisdiction specified in the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement, and that the South Korean government was not officially a party to the case. In 2018, Mason filed for arbitration, claiming a $200 million loss due to a fall in Samsung's stock price was caused by the government's alleged undue pressure that led to the merger of Samsung C&T and Tail Industries. The government today announced a plan to transform the structure of general tertiary hospitals in the country. The plan focuses on better care of the critically ill and emergency patients. Our Lee Si-woo reports. South Korea is looking to transform the structure of its general hospitals this year. The Special Presidential Committee on Healthcare Reform held a meeting on Thursday and discussed measures for a sustainable healthcare system with greater emphasis on the care of the critically ill and less dependence on junior doctors in training.
The main goal is to provide sufficient incentives so that general, tertiary hospitals can operate stably while pushing innovation in the areas of treatment, medical cooperation, hospital bed capacity, human resources, and medical training.
The government is encouraging tertiary hospitals to prioritize the care of critically ill and emergency patients through incentives in evaluation and compensation. It will also increase hospital bed capacities allotted for those in critical condition while decreasing the number of general ward beds by up to 15% depending on the region. There will be more training opportunities for medical professionals, as well as a gradual decrease in weekly work hours for resident and intern doctors from the current 80 to 60. The plans announced Thursday will go through further review and discussion. A final plan will be announced in August and implemented beginning in September. Meanwhile, the committee further vowed to change the current policies for medical disputes for better quality medical care. Lee Si-hu, Arirang News. With a fifth of the country's population over 65 years old, South Korea is entering an era of a super-aged society as defined by the World Health Organization. On Thursday, the Ministry of the Interior and Safety announced that more than 10 million registered residents were 65 or over as of Wednesday. This is the first time that the figure has surpassed the 10 million mark, having shown a steady increase ever since it reached 6 million back in 2013. Data also show that there are more people in this age group living outside the capital region, with the highest proportion found in Jeollanam-do province. As summer vacation season approaches, more is being done to attract tourists. In line with that, new honorary ambassadors have been chosen to help promote Korean tourism worldwide. Our culture correspondent Song Yu-jin explains who they are.
These girls will no longer just be the faces of K-pop. Meet the Korea Tourism Honorary Ambassador of 2024, New Jeans. Every year, the Culture Ministry and the Korea Tourism Organization select an ambassador to promote Korea and its culture to the world. Previous ambassadors include Emmy-winning actor Lee Jung-jae in 2023, BTS in 2022, and football star Son Heung-min in 2021.
We aim to attract 20 million overseas tourists this year. So far, we've had about 7.65 million overseas tourists. With New Jeans as our ambassador, we have high hopes that even more people will visit in the latter half of this year.
New Jeans is having a record-breaking year. They became the first K-pop act to win Group of the Year at the 2024 Billboard Women in Music Awards and the fastest non-Japanese artist to perform at the Tokyo Dome since their debut.
We're really excited to be chosen as ambassadors for promoting Korean tourism. We'll do our best to promote Korea's unique charms and attractions.
But their success isn't the only reason why they were chosen. More than one-third of inbound tourists to Korea last year were 30 years old or younger, and many were drawn to Korea through K-content.
New Jeans is a young group with many young fans overseas. We are targeting millennials and Gen Z in regions like China, Southeast Asia, and Japan.
Kicking off their one-year term as ambassadors, New Jeans filmed the Koreans Korea campaign videos. The two videos highlight some of the most popular activities among locals, such as personal color analysis, esports, and enjoying Korean street food at traditional markets.
I highly recommend staying in a hanok, a traditional Korean house. You'll experience its beauty while being surrounded by nature.
I suggest trying Korean summer dishes like samgyetang soup and naengmyeon, the cold noodles.
These videos will be screened on billboards at more than 10 major tourist landmarks worldwide, including New York City's Times Square and across Paris during the Paris 2024 Olympics. Song Yu-jin, Arirang News.
With heatwave warnings in place for 2 days in a row in Seoul, the daytime temperature soared up to 31 degrees Celsius today. Heatwave warnings are also in effect in Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, Chungcheongbuk-do, and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces. It will continue to feel hot tomorrow. Frequent showers are expected throughout the inland areas until tomorrow. In some areas, there will be around 20 millimeters per hour of heavy rain, and there will be hailstones in Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces. Due to the heavy rain that poured down up until yesterday, a landslide warning is still at caution level across the country. Please refrain from approaching woodland areas. Tomorrow morning will start off at 22 to 23 degrees nationwide. It will move up to 31 in Seoul, Daejeon and Gwangju, Gyeongju 33 degrees. Another round of monsoon rain will fall again across the country early next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. Arirang News will be back at 9 a.m. Korea time.